can get everybody down to do that hearing.
That's fine. Let me give you 10. I have to, there's something else I need to, unrelated court business I need to take up. So let me go ahead and deal with Mr. Stillwell next, and then we'll start on Mr. Hall probably this afternoon. But let's go ahead and get Mr. Stillwell done first, okay? So we're going to recess about 15. Hang tight. Have him come back for 1 o'clock, please, madam, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, we're in recess.
Yeah, so basically, man, they in recess right now, but they ain't really talking about nothing right now, but they supposed to, like, bring witnesses and basically the state's prosecutor supposed to bring out, not just, cause the trial just not for one day. The trial it's an ongoing trial, so everything not gonna be presented in this specific trial right here or this specific day, but everything will be presented soon. Like, everything gonna come out on the table at the end of the day. And in this case, man, we got a lot of fucking people that flipped, a lot of people that basically took a plea to get out, like to get out of a lot of dudes that get out of jail free passes, man. And which is sad, cause it's like everybody know what the fuck they signed up for. If you know what you signed up for, man, and especially if y'all doing it big like how they was doing it and living that lifestyle, everybody with it until the whole organization crumble, until everybody get caught up, until shit go bad, and then like you put 27 eggs in a fucking crate, shake them up, apply pressure to them, and expect none of them to crack. It's a sad situation right here, bro. But it ain't really looking good for my boy Thug, man. And just to throw that out there, for everybody who's saying that Gunna did not snitch or cooperate to get the plea deal that he got, that is lie. That's a damn lie. That's not how the justice system works. You just don't get out on no fucking RICO in 7 months without going to trial, or like, you just don't get no good ass plea deals like that, man. Just to get out of jail free pass like that without cooperating. You have to cooperate to even get out that type of situation like that. Being due to the fact that they saying they got 300 witnesses, they got all this evidence, and then you got Young Thug co-defendants getting these ridiculous plea deals out the blue, man. Like, come on, man. He got a lot of people against him right now, and all he can do is sit back and let his attorneys do their thing and fight for him, man. That's about it. But we gonna skip to past recess time and see what.
It's about a little less than 2 years.
Okay, we got somebody on the stand right now.
Judge Constance Russell's courtroom. And then in October of 2013, I was assigned to the unindicted homicide unit, albeit I was not the head of the unindicted homicide unit, though. If memory serves correctly, I was the only attorney in the unit, so I suppose in a way I was the head, given that I was the only one. But then as time went on, the unit expanded. I was promoted, and now there's more employees.
Of the district attorney's office, do you receive cases involving homicides where persons are charged or already arrested?
Yes.
And is it always the case that a person has been charged or arrested when you receive a file within the office?
No.
wherein a person has been arrested, do you immediately present that case to the grand jury?
No.
Why is that?
Well, I want to ensure that the person who's been charged or arrested primarily committed the crime that is alleged they committed. So in order to do that, I inspect the case file, which primarily, if not, well, I don't want to say exclusively, because there are some things that I find on my own, but when I'm preliminarily looking at a case file, I look at what the police have sent me, their reports, their interviews, cell phone records, and the extractions of cell phones, when the police actually copy the data out of somebody's cell phone. And I just go over all of this to make sure it's consistent with what has been alleged in the arrest warrants.
And do you always have?
And just to let y'all know, the cell phone shit got threw out. That evidence is they can't use that in trial. That's over with. They threw that out. Just to let y'all know if y'all didn't already know.
And what type of steps do you take to ensure that you have obtained as much information as you can? Do you, for instance, do you pull jail calls?
Yes,
Do you speak with witnesses?
I do on occasion, yes.
Do you go to scenes?
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Is it preliminary matter? Is it preliminary matters? I'll allow it. Over your objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you go to scenes?
Yes,
Do you seek search warrants?
yes,
And do you present evidence to other entities for further testing?
yes.
And does that always take limited amounts of time, or is that sometimes more protracted?
Well, it depends on the case and the volume of deficiencies that I have identified in the initial investigation.
Bringing you to the case involving the murder of Donovan Thomas, do you recall satisfaction as an assistant district attorney?
Well, it depends on how you define the word complete. Was it complete insofar as the Atlanta Police Department was concerned? I don't know. I know that they handed me everything that I asked for. If there were some other documents that the Detective Thorpe still had in his file, they just didn't give to me. I had no way of knowing that. As far as I know, what the Atlanta Police Department gave me was the complete case file.
And did you review that complete case file that you received from the Atlanta Police Department?
I did.
Upon reviewing that case file, were you satisfied that the case was sufficient to present to the grand jury as you received it at that time?
No.
Did you take additional steps to investigate the case?
Yes.
Now, at that time, a person had been arrested on the murder, is that correct?
Yeah, at least one person had been arrested on the murder.
And in that case, was he the only alleged participant in the homicide?
Well, no, there were three other. If we're talking about the people that had been charged by the police, there were four.
Okay, go ahead.
There was Antonio Sledge, Demikian Garlington, Kenneth Copeland, and Shannon Jackson, aka Shannon Stillwell. Those were the four people that the police charged for the murder of Donovan Thomas in late 2015.
And were you able to determine, based on your review of the file given to you by Detective Thorpe, what primarily those arrests were based on?
They were primarily based on the statement of a young man named Spencer Wright.
All right? And when you received the file from Detective Thorpe, did you endeavor...
Whoever joining the chat and if y'all not subscribed, subscribe to the channel right now.
Well, so Spencer Wright, according to his statement...
Hit that like button, hit that share button.
...shooting as he stood at
All it, man. Support, support.
Across the street from the barber shop, the parking lot of which Mr. Donovan Thomas...
First live stream on my channel.
There was a surveillance camera mounted on that barber shop, and the bus stop where Mr. Wright said he stood was in the viewing area of that surveillance camera. And when I looked at the footage, I didn't see anyone standing at the bus stop. I saw a cat at one point milling about the bench at the bus stop, and I only bring that up to indicate that the...
So right now we got a witness on the stand.
There was a human being standing there. There was no human being standing there. So
I really don't know what the hell he's talking about right now, but
speak with Mr. Wright.
We getting into it, man. Y'all tune in, share this live, share this live stream, like the live stream.
So I wanted to speak with
Subscribe
Mr.
to the
Wright
channel,
and make
man.
sure, first thing I did is I wanted to speak with him and make sure that I was clear as to where he was standing. So I actually, before I confronted him with the fact that I didn't see him on the video, I had some printouts from Google Earth, and I asked him to point to the specific bus stop where he said he was standing. And when he did, he pointed to the bus stop that was depicted on the surveillance footage. At which point I said, "But there's nobody standing at that bus stop." And he didn't really have an explanation for me.
Did you receive that surveillance footage from the Atlanta Police Department?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you, as you stated, you pulled Google Earth images? Was that something that you had received from the Atlanta Police Department, or is that something that you did to further your investigation?
That was something I did to aid in my interview with Mr. Wright. I just pulled up Google Earth and took screenshots of the bus stop and the general area where the homicide occurred, so he could point to them and indicate where he stood, or where he claimed to have been standing, I should say.
And why did it concern you that he was not shown in the surveillance footage that you presented to him, yet he claimed to have witnessed the homicide?
Well, he claimed that the bus stop was his vantage point from which he witnessed the 4 defendants that I mentioned earlier.
They trying to slam my boy King Slime, man. Free Thug, man.
Shooting. If he wasn't standing at the bus stop, that would suggest he didn't witness it at all.
You got a lot of rats on this case.
Was there anything else that you were able to uncover during your ensuing investigation of this case that enlightened you more as to whether or not Mr. Wright was presenting to you information that was factually accurate?
Yes, so after my interview with him, I requested from the Atlanta City Jail, because that's where he was when I interviewed him. I interviewed him inside the Atlanta City Jail. He was an inmate there. From somebody that worked at the Atlanta City Jail, whose name I don't recall. But I asked him to send me Mr. Wright's recorded jail calls, because just like the Fulton County Jail, at least at that time, the phone calls placed by inmates from the Atlanta City Jail were recorded. So when I obtained Mr. Wright's jail calls, I found one that was placed shortly after his arrest to a gentleman. And during this call, and this is, by the way, not verbatim, okay? I'm not quoting him exactly, but he told his friend about his recent arrest, which I believe was on a probation violation, and he said that everything would be okay because he was helping the police solve a murder. And his friend asked, "Well, what murder was that?" He said Nuts murder, and that would be the moniker for Donovan Thomas. And his friend scoffed at him and said, "But you didn't witness that." And Mr. Wright responded, he basically shushed him, reminding him that they were on a recorded jail line. But the implication there was that he didn't witness it. He would prefer that his friend not, utter such a thing on
He's
recorded
stuttering.
phone. And then he said, but it's something to the effect of, it doesn't matter, we all know what happened anyway. And it's also worth mentioning that during my interview with Mr. Wright, very soon into the interview, something that caught my attention was, he said, "You see, I've been on Instagram," or again, not verbatim, but he mentioned that he had been on Instagram and putting the pieces together from there, which put up a red flag, made me think that perhaps he was just compiling a statement through rumors that he saw on the internet. So after I heard that jail call, I asked investigator David White. I knew who he was talking to. I can't recall his name off the top of my head, but the gentleman that he was talking to, and the same gentleman said, "But you didn't witness that," etc. So my investigator reached out to him and asked him, "Well, how did you know that Mr. Wright didn't witness the murder of Donovan Thomas?" And he said, "Well, that murder was a really big deal in the city, and I'm pretty close with Mr. Wright. He never mentioned to me that he had witnessed it. And it's the kind of thing that he would have mentioned had he witnessed it." So at that point, I was satisfied that Mr. Wright didn't really witness the murder at all, and he just made it up.
Why didn't you just go ahead and present the information to the grand jury as had been presented to you by the Atlanta Police Department? People had been arrested. Is it an appearance that you immediately had the case indicted?
Who's made the objection? I sustain as to form. You can rephrase it. You can rephrase it.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Sprinkle, is there any reason in particular why you did not go ahead and present the indictment to the grand jury with the names and the information that had been given to you from the police department?
To the grand jury, but if I was, I still wouldn't, because at that point, out of 3 of the 4 defendants, I had a complete absence of evidence that they committed the murder at all, and I wouldn't present a case naming a specific individual, I wouldn't present indictment to a grand jury, wherein a specific individual is alleged to have committed a crime when there's a total absence of evidence they actually committed a crime. That would actually violate state bar rules for me to do that.
And now, if the court would, just so that I'm aware, is there any other party to this defendant Stillwell's motion to dismiss that I'm unaware of?
I have not, the court is not unaware of anybody else who's joined in this paper issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Ms. Dorsey, the state keeps saying that because this is RICO, everything applies to everything. I have adopted the motions of everybody, so I do reserve the right to ask some questions of the witness, Your Honor. But based on the theory that the state says that because it's RICO, everything applies to my client, I do want to make it very clear. I think I'm going to do this.
Your Honor, this is Shannon Stillwell's assertion of his constitutional right to a speedy trial. I do not believe that Mr. Chada or his client have any right to assert as it relates to Shannon Stillwell's assertion of his right or the denial thereof to a speedy trial. I would ask that the court limit questioning and argument and commentary to the parties that are involved in this particular motion.
Your Honor, as it relates to Mr. Marquez, you see he has.
I ain't gonna lie, it look like they gonna get his ass the book, man.
However, he's a.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, Ms. Logo, the issue you're gonna have is that since it's a RICO case and anything can be attributed to any other defendant, that's why that they have a right of confrontation as to this. Now, so the specific relief is only available to Mr. Stillwell, but counsel are entitled to ask other questions.
Reese Line.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may, just to be clear, on Mr. Williams' behalf, we do claim an interest in the outcome and the argument of this motion. We understand Mr. Stillwell's motion, but again, as the court has indicated, because this is a RICO indictment, Mr. Williams is charged in it, he has an interest and an ability to pose objections if necessary.
Deputy Sprinkle, after you determined that the information that you had been given was inaccurate or could not be verified, did you take additional steps to investigate the homicide, the murder of Donovan Thomas?
I did.
And would you tell the court whether or not this was a sort of high-profile case within the office?
It was.
And are you able to say what impact the case itself had on the office or on the city of Atlanta that caused it to be a high-profile case?
Basis.
Irrelevant. What does high-profile case have to do with anything?
All right.
I was fine.
Why don't you explain that before I read?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the reason that I asked about it being a high-profile case is to sort of lay the groundwork for the fact that the office did not seek to not investigate or to not make sure that we got the case right by asking whether it was a high-profile case.
She ought to be ashamed of herself coming to court here looking like that, man. Come on, man.
With which Deputy Sprinkle.
Don't nobody want to hear that shit.
Oh, your objection, go ahead.
I just want to
Thank you, Your Honor.
be clear that
I've overruled your objection.
Did that murder carry with it a series of violent shootings within the city of Atlanta?
Yes, for many.
She looking like Holiday Horde off the by the head.
Basis. Why don't you rephrase?
I can do that. Thank you, Judge. After the murder of Donovan Thomas, were there multiple shootings within the city of Atlanta within days, sometimes weeks.
Could have at least got a lace front.
I have one basis.
I'm gonna let her finish, okay, and then I'll okay? All right, go ahead now.
Thank you.
Objection.
Were there multiple shootings within the city of Atlanta?
Yeah.
Objection on the relevance.
I was gonna say this to Leedy. Why don't you ask him what happened as a result of that, if he knows it, Danny?
After the murder of Donovan Thomas, and let me back up, were there any gang implications to the investigation? In other words, during your investigation and during your initial review of the file, was there any indication from the information that you had within the file that the murder was gang related?
Yes.
And what gangs were alleged to have been involved?
Englewood family, that was the gang to which Mr. Donovan Thomas was a member, a high-ranking member. And the other gang was YSL, or Young Slime Life, to which Mr. Williams was a member.
Did you gain
I'm
knowledge?
going to object to that answer. Speculation, and after to be stricken.
I'm gonna overrule the objection. What's your objection?
It's a legal conclusion. Criminal shooting is a legally defined term, has to be determined by 12 people in the city from.
That may be in front of a jury, but this is the district attorney's investigation. I'm gonna overrule your objection.
And Your Honor, so just so I'm clear, we are speaking just in layman's terms when we say gang is wrong, not in legal terms.
I'm still gonna overrule your objection, okay? Thank you.
And during the weeks and months following Donovan Thomas's murder, did you have information that led you to believe that a series of retaliatory shootings between YSL and Englewood family took place across the city of Atlanta?
I'm going to object because it calls for hearsay.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
Your Honor, the defendant, Shannon Stillwell, has alleged an intentional delay on the part of the state. What led us to further our investigation and what information you had?
Goes to conduct?
Yes,
All right, I'm gonna overrule the objection.
thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Did you have information that led you to believe that a series of retaliatory shootings between YSL and Englewood family happened after Donovan Thomas was murdered?
Yes, there were cases where the victims were identified as YSL or Englewood family, and the shooters were also identified as YSL or Englewood family. And commonly, the shooters would generally be in the rival gang. I don't want to say there were no cases that involved the same members of the same gang shooting at each other, but primarily it was opposing gangs that were shooting at each other. The participants that were identified were opposing gangs. Those two gangs specifically, yes.
And during that time, did you and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and unit work closely with the Atlanta Police Department in an effort to solve the murder of Donovan Thomas, as well as find out whether or not those series of shootings were related, in fact, to the murder of Donovan?
The gang unit, the office's gang unit, I believe they were in consultation with Detective Thorpe, but I don't recall speaking with Detective Thorpe prior to him obtaining warrants for the arrest of the four men that he originally charged.
And that is before the arrest of the persons that were originally charged. I'm speaking of during the months in the year 2015, 2016, did you obtain more information that led you to believe that the murder of Donovan Thomas was gang related?
Right, well, yeah, I would routinely consult with Detective Tyrone Dennis with the Atlanta Police Department. He also worked very, very closely on the murder case and alongside Detective Jim Thorpe Jr.
And were there incidents, shooting incidents that took place, and other incidents that took place that involved members of the alleged offending gang or YSL?
Yes, either, as I said, the victim was identified as being in one gang or the other. The shooters are identified as being in the opposite gang. There were shell casings that, when placed under microscopes and the tool mark on the back of the casing was compared to various incidents, they would find that the similar guns, or the same guns, I should say, were used in these various incidents, which could possibly indicate that the same participants were involved.
And did you prepare a supplemental report to the case file that you have been given by Detective Thor in order to outline the investigation that you conducted in this case between the time that you received it and November 13, 2018?
Yes.
I am showing to you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 1.
If you're new to the channel, man, or just now joining the live stream, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man, hit that post notification bell, and support the channel, man. And join the family, man.
I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 11. SS. Would you take a look at it? In your honor, I will, at the end of this tendering of this exhibit, ask that the court allow me to tender a digital copy of this as evidence. Under seal.
Okay. Yes, I've looked at State's Exhibit 11.
Does State's Exhibit 11 contain
Free Thug, aka King Slime.
outlining and detailing?
Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button.
Up until November 13 of 2018.
It don't even take a half a second to hit that like button, man. Support the channel.
I brought a copy of my report to the stand with me anyway, and it looks like there may be a page missing from this one, because my report has a page that only has about 2 sentences on it, but so this may be a page short, basically.
And
If we don't screenshot of the other story, these people have a copy of the report that he.
Oh, never mind, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
If it was, or
After we just testified in this is offensive, so we just appreciate we get a copy of whatever we actually do.
he would be entitled to, he would be required to update that particular as part of continuing discovery. So to the extent, Ms. Love, you have not done that, go ahead and do so, okay?
thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Deputy Sprinkle, would you please clarify for the court whether or not the page you were referencing is contained within State's Exhibit 11?
It is. You just turn the page over. It turns out I guess it was facing the wrong way. So no, that's my full report.
Thank you. Your Honor, tender State's Exhibit 11, and with the court's permission, I would like to enter originally understood.
Okay, so Brandon,
Your Honor, I object.
And Your Honor,
is this part of the order that I entered before?
No, it's not.
Why do you want to enter it under seal, madam?
only because it contains information, personal information about witnesses. The defense has been provided this report on August the 8th, I believe, 2022, in its entirety. I am happy to let defense counsel look at it, review it, and compare it to their copy of the discovery that has been previously served.
Okay,
My issue is not with under seal per se.
but I'm gonna seal it then, okay?
No, it's not with that. My issue is admitting, we're having a.
Okay, no, but you've made it an issue for the purposes of your speedy trial demand.
Right.
So they're introducing as part of what they, if I understand it, given the factors, is that what they did and the reason for the delay. Is that what you're doing, Ms. Love?
Yes.
So I mean, so that's why they're introducing it for for that limited purpose. So
With all due respect, Your Honor, he can testify to what he did.
he just did, but in terms of the case goes up on appeal, then of course the appellate court will have an opportunity to take a look at it.
For the record, I would just like to say that there's a lot more in that report than what was testified to through live testimony. And we are objecting to conducting this hearing through proffer, which is essentially what we're doing.
Well, you got live testimony because you haven't even examined Mr. Sprinkle yet. So you certainly won't be able to do that, but I'm going to admit it and seal it over your objection states 11, okay?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to get August in relation to this particular document, and the state will need to, of course, disclose or
Investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas ceased entirely as of November 13, 2018. That you participated in or conducted between 2018 and May 2021.
Okay, so in 2019, there were at least 2 gang-related murders that involved the YSL Street Gang and the Englewood Family Street Gang. One was a February 23rd, 2019 murder involving a victim named Jamari Holmes and some YSL gang members named Damone Blaylock and Rodalius Ryan. I did a lot of work on that case. But for purposes of this hearing, I did a search warrant to Instagram for, I believe it was 4 or 5 accounts belonging to YSL gang members. Now the reason that search warrant was for the accounts of the people that were participants in the February 23rd, 2019 murder of Jamari Holmes, of course, but with any search warrant that I did for concerning either one of those gangs, the murder of Donovan Thomas was always really just on the front of my mind, because that
Why?
it was the murder of Donovan Thomas that was essentially the primary genesis of the dispute between these 2 gangs that had claimed the lives of so many people and wounded countless others. So I always, when investigating any case,
This is irrelevant.
Madam.
Your Honor, Deputy Sprinkle is talking about the investigation